Happiness, fulfillment, passion, and success. It's what we all want, but it's not always so easy to come by. Welcome to Crossroads. My name is Angela Vescio Wilcox, and I'm your host. I help people realize their dreams. As a life coach, marketing professional, and small business entrepreneur, I figured out a way to make my dreams come true. With this program, Crossroads, my goal is to inspire and motivate people like you to take charge of your life, consider all the possibilities available, and help you make changes that will lead you to pursuing your dream and have the most meaningful and fulfilling life possible. Hi, my name's Angela Vescio Wilcox, and this is Crossroads. Today we're going to be talking to a good friend of mine, Paula Gaull. Paula changed careers midway through life, and I think she has a very interesting and inspiring story to tell. And Paula, I want to welcome you to the show. Thanks for coming.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So why don't we kind of jump right in, and why don't you tell us a little bit about your first career?
Well, my first career was in advertising. I did a number of things in advertising. I started out actually as an ad rep at my local newspaper. And from there, I started working at ad agencies. And after a number of years in agencies, I jumped over to the client side of marketing and did that for a bunch more years. And all told, I probably was there doing that side of things about 20 years. So,
did you like the marketing, the ad agency part, or the client side better?
You know what? I think it's a little bit of the grass is always greener syndrome. Mm-hmm. So the whole time I was at an agency, you always think, if I was on the client side, it would be so much better and so much easier. And then you make that switch to the client side, and you go, oh, you know what? It was a lot more fun when I was at the agency. Right. So, both sides had their advantages, but I think being on the agency side was a little more interesting, I have to say.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what you loved about the marketing world versus, doing other things.
It was very creative. A big chunk of my career in marketing was spent in hospitality marketing. So, we got to travel to amazing places and talk about beautiful things, and it was really interesting to me seeing ideas spun out into actual ad campaigns. Mm-hmm. It was fun kind of going through that whole process of just kind of, thinking about what could work and then seeing it in print or seeing it in a direct mail piece, that a lot of people would see. That was kind of cool. Well, you feel free to name some of the clients that you had, because I know you had some really phenomenal clients. Like you worked on Four Seasons for a while. I did,
so
yeah.
Tell us about that a little bit.
So, yeah, working for Four Seasons hotels was amazing. And the area that I focused on with them, I think, was a while now, was the West Coast and Hawaii. So my business trips, I would have to, really suffer and fly to Hawaii and stay at Four Seasons. And
right, that was terrible.
Be pampered, and it was really hard, but somehow I did it.
Right, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So what were some of the things about the marketing world that you really didn't find interesting, or
how much time do we have?
I know. Go for it.
I think there was a lot of interesting factors that came into play there. I think there's a lot of pressure to perform. For me, I think it was kind of a timing thing too. I felt like I had a lot on my plate all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think honestly, being in an ad agency or PR, I did PR for a while too, it's really very much a dog-eat-dog world. Mm-hmm. Kill or be killed. It's kind of like you have to be the most aggressive one out there, or else you're going to get steamrolled. And so it can bring out that side of you that might not be the nicest, most serene side of you.
Right.
But, you had to do it to survive, because you saw what happened if you didn't, so you had to kind of be as aggressive as you needed to be to get things done. And, I think that was part of what turned me off about it.
And what prompted you to leave at that time? Was it sort of
did you feel like, okay, I've done it all, or I've had enough, or was it just felt like time, or what was going on with you?
Well, so when I jumped from the agency side, the beautiful Four Seasons marketing side of things, to the client side, I went over to the high-tech world, and I was doing marketing for software companies. And that was kind of cool at first, and I wound up with this really cool startup company, and I was going to make $1 gazillion, and just then I was going to retire and buy an island, and
right.
But it didn't quite work out that way, shockingly.
Don't you hate when that happens?
I do hate when that happens. And the last company that I worked for was actually bought out by Microsoft. Mm-hmm. And what happened is, how can I say this in a politically correct kind of way, or do we not care? No, we care. All of the creativity that you could have in marketing for a software company was pretty much removed when Microsoft took over. It really was, they dictated to us how things were going to be. So sort of all the fun, all the creativity, for me anyways, was taken out of it. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking that every day when I went into work, I felt like my days are just gray now. There's no color, there's no life, there's no creativity. I'm just told what to do from an office out in Seattle. And it just got to be a real grind, and just all the fun part of it was gone for me. So that's when I started to think about, I really want to make a change, and I really want to do something different. If you had walked into my house at that time, I think there was 2 books on my coffee table, see if I get the names right. One of them was I Could Do Anything If I Knew What It Was, or the other one was I Don't Know What I Want to Be, but I Know It's Not This. So I was at a crossroads,
yeah, I would say
literally.
So. Right.
So I knew that I was kind of ripe for change,
Mm-hmm.
But I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I remember going on interviews at that time, kind of in the same field, PR, marketing, high tech, and people would say, what do you want to do? And I would come up with this answer, and I think they thought I was crazy, because I would say, I just want to be in color again. Mm-hmm. I feel like everything I'm doing is gray, mm-hmm. and I don't want to be gray anymore. I just want to be in color. And they'd be like, okay, thanks, we'll call you. We don't really know what that means, but...
But that's interesting that that's what was coming through your mind, Now, did you take some time off after that?
I didn't. What happened is, the way that this switch happened, it was not one of these things where I spent a lot of time thinking about, how to change or what to do. It was just, I knew I was unhappy. I was interviewing, trying to decide what my next thing would be, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And just out of the blue, I was actually trying to do some decorating at my own house. Mm-hmm. And I had always had a pretty good knack with decorating, and I would help people, decorate their houses, my friends, and I had this one room in my house that I could not get right. I just kept spinning the furniture around, spinning it around, and it never worked. And I had seen on HGTV that there were these people called redesigners. Mm-hmm. And what they did is they took your own furniture and they moved it all around, and like a miracle, they got the room to work when you couldn't get the room to work. And I thought, oh, that's kind of what I need. I don't need a whole bunch of new furniture. I just need somebody to figure this room out for me. So I got online and I started researching who in my area might be able to come in and help me redesign my room. And as I started to do this research online, the light bulb went off, because all these things started to pop up for people that would train you to do this, mm-hmm. and all these associations and training programs. And I was like, wow, maybe I could just do that. That mm-hmm. would be interesting. That would be in color. Mm-hmm. So I did some more research, and I thought, if I can find a place around here to do it, I'm just going to go and get trained in it. I was still working at Microsoft, and I still, didn't have any giant plans to leave. But I thought, I'll see what this is about, and, maybe do it part-time on the side or something like that. So I started looking for somebody, and this name popped up of a trainer out in California. And through a giant series of coincidences, it was somebody who I had known 20 years before from my hometown. And I thought, this can't possibly be the same person, because first of all, it was a man who used to sell insurance in my hometown, and now he's doing this redesign stuff out in Napa, California. So on a lark, I sent him an email and said, are you the same guy? Do you remember me? You know, and he wrote me right back and said, yes, yes, it's me. Here's what I'm doing. It's with my new wife, and she's kind of a big deal out here doing this training. Come on out and train with us. And literally 3 weeks later, I got on an airplane and went out there and did this training program with them.
Wow, okay. That's how that sort of came about. I remember you doing that,
Yeah.
you know. Well, let me tell me a little bit about when you were a kid. Was that some of the passions that you had? Did it sort of translate from what you're
Yeah, I think, you know, I was always into color and art and painting, and but never, you know, I never really saw myself doing that as a career. Really, truthfully, from the time I started thinking about career things, I wanted to be in advertising.
Right.
You know, my original intent when I went to college was to be a copywriter. And I just happened to land a job at the local paper like the week after we graduated from college, selling ad space instead. So that sort of dictated where my career path went. But I always wanted to be in advertising. I really did not think of myself as a highly creative person, or, you know.
But if you were a copywriter, that's highly creative.
That's pretty
you know?
creative.
So it's almost like you've got the art side and the writing side of it, you
yeah,
know, playing
you know.
together. So, okay, so tell us a little bit more. So you're now on a plane to California.
I'm on a plane to California.
And you still have your job.
I still have my job, and
Okay.
they don't know, you know, at Microsoft that I'm doing this. I just, you know, took some time off and went
You
out
just
there and
wanted to
did this.
redecorate your room
I
anyway.
did, and I really didn't have any plans to launch anything. I just really was curious to see if I even had any aptitude in this. So I went out there, and they had sort of like this boot camp training thing that you went out there for 8 days, and it was like from 7 in the morning till 8 at night, and they taught you everything from, you know, how to do a room to the whole business side of things, and it was great. And they were really supportive, and they were great mentors, and they basically said to me, you know, you have to do this because we train lots and lots of people, and, you know, not only are you good at this, but we think you're going to be like a superstar. You have to like do this for your career. And I said, okay. So I literally came back after that, quit my job, set up my
Right
company
away, like
right away.
immediately.
Came back. I think actually what happened is I came back. I got a job offer from a PR agency, a high-tech PR agency, where I had interviewed, and I knew the guy that owned the place. And they wanted to hire me, and I really, again, you know, not to like keep using the crossroads thing, but it really was a crossroads because, you know, they made me a really good job offer, and I thought, do I really just want to get back on that treadmill again and do more of what I've been doing that I really haven't been happy with, or, you know, do I want to take the chance and just do something completely different? So that really was it, where I had to think, do I, you know, here's a crossroads in my life where I have to think about what to do. And the thought of just like doing more of that marketing and PR and high tech and stuff was like, ugh.
Because you've been doing it for what, almost 20 years
20
at that
years.
point. Yeah.
And this other thing, it was just like everything was so easy. All the doors opened up, it just suddenly seemed like a really easy path for me to take. And I have to say that that's something that I've kind of learned with every like step of doing this journey and this business, is that when it's right, it's easy. And everything about this was so easy that I was like, I'd be stupid to ignore all these signs.
Right,
I have to do it.
Right, right.
I really felt like I had to do it, and I never felt like that my whole life. I mean, sometimes I see people on TV now, and they're like, well, I knew at age 4 that from the minute I saw this person on TV, that's what I was going to do. That was not me. It just suddenly was like, I got to do this.
Right. Knowing you're sort of always questioning and kind of reevaluating, is this the right decision or not? So that's great.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, then you just gave your notice and decided I'm going to pursue this.
I had the name of my company came to me. I knew what I wanted it to be. I looked up the domain name to make sure it wasn't taken online. Grabbed that as soon as I could. I just started doing the process of what I needed to do to get this going. And I just did it. It was interesting because I didn't have a big plan. I just sort of kept like saying, just keep walking forward. Like just I don't know what all the steps are, but just keep walking from one step to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And as it turned out, marketing was really a good foundation for starting my own business, because I knew that I needed to get all of that in place, sort of before any of the other stuff. I made sure that I had my website and my marketing stuff, and kind of puffed myself out to look bigger than I really was before I had ever really even started.
So tell us the name of your company, New Leaf
New
Design.
Leaf Redesign, yeah.
So tell us, how did you come up with that, and how did it?
It just,
tell us a little bit about the actual business that you've started.
So the business is Redesign, which is what I explained before, and I also do a lot of staging of houses for sale. And now it's sort of also morphed into just a lot of just straight decorating for people. So it's all about making people's spaces look and feel better, whether they're going to stay in them or whether they're going to put them on the market.
And so is the redesign and the staging almost two separate things, or?
It is kind of. The difference between redesign and staging is that staging is sort of trying to make things a little bit more generic in a house so that it will appeal to the greatest number of people. So you kind of cast a broad net. And redesign and decorating is sort of the opposite of that. It's making it really personal for the person that's going to stay there. A lot of the principles are the same, how you set up a space, but in staging, I'm much less concerned with the function and the comfort of the people living there. For me, it's more about how it visually presents itself. How is it going to look in pictures? What are the sight lines that buyers are, when a buyer walks into a house, where are their eyes going to go? And am I making sure that everything that their eyes fall on is something that looks good? And it's trying to make the space look bigger, which is not, not usually what you're trying to do when you're decorating a house.
So actually, now that we're talking about it, why don't we take a look at some of the pictures, the before and after shots that you brought, because I think they really tell the story and they're very interesting.
So sort of the principles of staging are really about, like I said, casting that broad net out there, neutralizing a house, making it appeal to the greatest number of people. So usually the first thing I do when I walk into a house is I assess how will the house look to somebody who's seeing it for the very first time. Because what happens is, you live in a house for 15 years and you stop seeing everything. But when people come to your house for the first time, they notice everything. So this blue color that you might have that you think is, oh, I love this blue, it's great. I walk in for the first time and go, oh my God, that blue is going to sear my eyeballs. I don't want people to remember someone's house because it had the electric blue walls. So I'll neutralize it out and then set up the room so that it feels very warm and inviting. So I think if we have the after picture, you can see how that room got
Wow, it looks like it's a totally different house to me.
Yeah, no, it's the same house, just different paint and furniture, and
So tell us a little bit about, obviously you went with a neutral color on the walls.
Went with a neutral color, and then it's just really about making a comfortable seating area, trying not to overpower it with furniture. I like to keep traffic flow so people can walk around easily. You'll notice that there's not a lot of things on the walls. There's not too many little itty-bitty things around. I take out pretty much all of people's personal stuff because I don't want buyers hung up on the people that are living there now. I want them to see the space. I want them to see the house. I want them to see what they're buying. So in this case, people are buying the fireplace, the floors, the view. So, I kind of put enough stuff in there that it feels comfortable, but it's not taking away from the best features of the house.
Now, was this furniture that they had, or did you have to?
Some of it was their furniture. Some of it, she went out and actually bought a couple of pieces of furniture to add in that were a lot more neutral than what she had. And then we just brought in some accessories and things to kind of soften it up and make it feel a little bit more contemporary and current, because her stuff, a lot of the stuff that she had was a little bit more dated.
No, it looks nice. I mean, I wouldn't have known if it was theirs or you brought it in new and stuff. Let's look at the next one.
So, so this one, a lot of what we do in staging is, besides updating and making a house feel fresh and current. A lot of it is sort of repurposing the space in a way that makes sense for buyers. So in this case, this kitchen was sort of taken over by this massive kitchen table and the big hutch. And what the house lacked actually was a gathering space in the kitchen for people to hang out there. They didn't have an attached family room, and their living room was kind of like down the hall and around the corner, and that was fine for when that house was built, but these days people want to hang out in a kitchen family room kind of place. So we didn't have a family room to work with, so we kind of did the kitchen to give a gathering space in the kitchen. So if you look at the after picture, which I just want to say that the wall colors were not that yellow.
Okay. So that's
because going back to saying about searing your eyeballs,
right.
But it's actually a much softer yellow in person. But you can see that what we did is we actually created a seating area. We used a smaller table, moved the hutch to the other side of the room, brought in some seating, and now there's a place for people to gather in the kitchen, or at least for buyers to think that there's a place for people to gather in that kitchen. And that house, sold in a week.
Wow. I mean, it's very, bright and cheerful. I mean, it looks like a room that you would want to hang out in, I think. So it's very pretty. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at the next one.
So this one is actually very, very typical of the kind of situation that a lot of sellers are in. This family has 3 kids. Their house looks like they have 3 kids, and their house is fine for living in it, but it's different for when it's on the market. So, if you look at that picture and I say, well, what's the first thing you notice in that picture?
The TV.
Well, that's a problem because that house has a lot to offer outside of the TV. So in this case, we took out a lot of stuff out of this room, all of their personal pictures, the kids' toys, a lot of the big stuff, and then we swung everything around so you could actually see the room and the best features of the room itself. So if you look at the after,
wow.
you can see that, we didn't buy anything new. We just took out a lot of what was there.
Right, because that's the same chair that they
It's
had
the same
sort of
everything.
hidden over there.
Everything was hidden by that table with the big lamps on it, which, created a barrier, but also hid the fireplace from view. And really, that fireplace is such a great selling feature.
Now, is the TV still in that hutch?
It is.
It is. So it's
just
just
keep it
closed, right?
Yep. And the truth is, could those people with 3 little kids live like that for long? Probably not. But for showing and for photographs especially,
right.
That's a perfect way to set up a room. And again, that house, under agreement in a week, so they didn't have to suffer too long, and they were quite happy to make this short-term sacrifice.
Wow, that's great. So those are great. I love seeing those kinds of before and after shots.
I got a million of them, but we'll just keep it to 3.
Yeah, okay. Well, tell me, what do you love most about this new career for you? What gives you the most pleasure?
Let's see. So I've been doing it about 7 years now, which is, shocking.
Right.
I've probably been in hundreds of houses. I like, there's so many interesting parts of it. The people aspect of it, to me, is still always the most interesting. You're coming into people's lives and their houses, and a lot of times you're coming in at a very stressful time for them, because a lot of times when people are moving, it's not for happy reasons. And to be able to help people transition through that and come out the other side and make it less stressful for them. I mean, I get the whole creative part of it, which is really fun, but it's also really, really nice to, to kind of help people through what can be a really hard time. Somebody's died or they're getting divorced or whatever, and just to get them through the other side of that has been kind of cool. You become part of people's stories, which is, kind of interesting.
Do you keep in touch with some of them?
I do. Some of them just have become friends, and what happens a lot is people like the way the houses look so much when I stage them that they then bring me to their new house, and I wind up decorating their new house from scratch so that it looks more like how we wound up staging their houses. Because a lot of times they're like, oh man, if I knew my house could look this good, I wouldn't have put it on the market.
Well, tell me, what was the hardest decision for you to sort of make this jump? What was?
So probably the hardest thing for me is wrapping my head around the idea of running my own business, because that was never my thing. I never, ever wanted to do that. In fact, I fought it tooth and nail. That just was not my thing. You know, I was very happy working for other people, letting them worry about the business.
Did you explore an option of maybe working for someone else that was in that sort of same area? Or?
No. You know, once I kind of had the bug, once I came back from California and I got on this path, I felt like I had to see it through. There have been times since then that I feel like, and I feel like it now, you know, after 7 years, it might be nice to partner with somebody and have somebody to bounce some ideas off of and think about ways to expand the business or do different things. But, you know, running your own business is a whole different animal. And so just learning the nuts and bolts of, you know, doing the accounting, and luckily I could do the marketing, but you know, all of that, doing all of it and then doing the work itself is, you know, it's a lot.
Right.
But now I really love it. I remember for the first couple of years, really for like the first couple of years, I felt like I was playing hooky because I made my own schedule. And so anytime I wasn't working or wasn't on, you know, my old office 9 to 5 schedule, which was so ingrained in my DNA after, you know, working all those years, it took me a really hard time to not feel guilty about, you know, going and having a sandwich in my kitchen, you know, and not working. You know, anything that I did that sort of felt like I should be working because everybody I used to work with is working right now, and I'm not. But now.
And now you allow yourself that sandwich.
Yeah, just that sandwich.
People have lunch too, you know, they have breaks.
That's true.
So tell me, what would be some of the things that if someone was considering starting a business or making a career change, what would you tell that person?
I would tell them that honestly, the biggest thing for me was I knew that the time was right to do it when the thought of not doing it was worse than the thought of doing it. So, and that has sort of like guided everything, every scary obstacle or challenge that I've come across, you know, in this business. When I think about it and I think, well, you know, somebody has a amazing opportunity, but it's something that I've never done before and it feels scary. And I think, well, if I don't do it, will that feel better than if I do it? So really with starting the business, if you get to the point where you think, if I don't start this business, I'm going to spend my whole life wondering what would happen if I did, I think then that's a good sign that you should really explore it.
Right.
You know?
No, that's very good advice. So before we wrap, tell us a little bit, what's next for you?
I have no idea. I mean, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and, you know, we'll see. You know, right now I happen to be doing a lot of model home projects for builders and things, so maybe that'll be my next big challenge. I don't know. You just never know.
So in terms of the actual business, it's not like you have a plan to say I'm going to hire some employees, or you just want to kind of do the same thing. And
I wouldn't mind, you know, if things worked out and I wound up, you know, having a partner that came in and we maybe got a warehouse full of furniture and kind of grew things that way, that would be okay. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see kind of. I've never had a big plan the whole time, and it's worked out, so I think I'll
just kind of keep winging it.
Yeah. Is that bad?
Not at all. Not at all. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you being here. And if anybody would like to be part of the program, Crossroads, we would welcome you to come in and talk with us, whether you have an interesting career story or just want to learn more about life coaching and career changes and staging or any of the other businesses that we're going to be talking about. So again, thanks for coming, Paula.
My pleasure.
Okay.